When you picture Cuba, you might see vintage cars, colorful Havana streets, and the pulse of salsa. But beneath the postcard is a story of revolution, isolation, and resilience. Cuba feels frozen in time, its cars, buildings, and daily life preserved by decades of embargo and political choices. Why is Cuba stuck in the past, and is real change finally possible? Let's look beyond the cliches and uncover the forces that shape this unique island. This is the story of Cuba, an island of contradictions, culture, and courage. To understand Cuba, start with its colonial past, once a Spanish prize, rich in sugar and tobacco, shaped by centuries of foreign rule. Independence came in the early 1900s, but US influence quickly filled the void, turning Havana into a playground for the elite, while most Cubans struggled. Inequality and frustration set the stage for revolution. Enter Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, who led a guerrilla movement that toppled Batista in 1959. The revolution nationalized industries and built a socialist state just 90 miles from the US. The US responded with an embargo, isolating Cuba and forcing it to rely on the Soviet Union. The embargo, el bloqueo, became a defining force, cutting off trade and shaping daily life. Cuba became a Cold War pawn, dependent on Soviet support. The revolution won, but the struggle for survival was just beginning. The island's fate was now tied to global politics and its own resilience. The world watched as Cuba charted a new uncertain path. The story of Cuba is one of constant adaptation. The revolution changed everything, but at a steep cost. Cut off from the world, Cubans became masters of resolver, making do with what they had. Those classic cars kept running with Russian engines, boat motors, and pure ingenuity. Resolver is a way of life, fixing, repurposing, and surviving. The embargo meant shortages. Food, parts, even basics. So Cubans relied on ration books and black markets. The collapse of the Soviet Union in the 1990s triggered this special period, a time of crisis, blackouts, and hunger. Yet people shared, grew food in cities, and endured. The vintage look tourists love is a result of decades of scarcity, not nostalgia. For Cubans, every day is a test of creativity and resilience. Resolver isn't just resourcefulness, it's survival. The struggle shaped a national identity built on solidarity. Scarcity is a daily reality, but so is the will to overcome it. Cuba's time capsule charm hides a story of hardship and hope. The art of resolver is the art of living. Despite hardship, Cuba's culture thrives. Music, dance, and art are everywhere. Music is the island's heartbeat, from Afro-Cuban jazz to son cubano and salsa. Dance is a celebration of life, seen in every street and square. Cuban art, literature, and ballet reflect a complex, creative spirit. Cigars and rum are more than exports. They're symbols of pride and tradition. Baseball, or la pelota, unites the nation and stirs deep passion. Culture is Cuba's lifeline, forged in isolation but bursting with energy. It's a source of pride, resilience, and joy, even in tough times. The world knows Cuba for its culture, but for Cubans, it's survival. The soul of Cuba endures, no matter the challenge. For years, Cuba was one of the world's least connected countries. Internet access was rare and tightly controlled, keeping Cubans isolated from global information. That changed with public Wi-Fi parks. Suddenly, people gathered in plazas to connect with the world. Mobile internet arrived in 2018, sparking a digital awakening, especially among the youth. Social media became a tool for connection, organization, and self-expression. Citizen journalists emerged, sharing real stories and holding power to account. The digital world gave Cubans a new voice and new expectations. A connected generation is pushing for change, demanding opportunity and freedom. The internet broke the information barrier, fueling hope and tension. Cuba's future now includes a digital revolution. With industries strangled by embargo, Cuba turned to tourism for survival. Tourists brought cash, fueling private businesses and new opportunities. But this boom created inequality. Those in tourism thrived, others struggled. US sanctions and the pandemic hit hard, collapsing tourism and plunging Cuba into crisis. Shortages worsened, inflation soared, and many fled the island. Tourism is both a lifeline and a vulnerability, hope and hardship intertwined. The pandemic exposed how fragile this system is. Cuba needs a more resilient, equitable economy. The search for stability continues with no easy answers. The island's future depends on finding balance. In July 2021, mass protests erupted. Cubans demanded freedom, food, and change. Social media fueled the movement, catching the government off guard. The crackdown was swift, but the desire for reform remains. Cuba stands at a crossroads. Maintain old ideals or embrace new realities. The government faces pressure to reform but fears losing control. Older generations remember revolutionary gains. Youth want opportunity. The nation is divided, uncertain, and restless. The next chapter is unwritten. Change is inevitable, but its shape is unknown. Cuba is no longer just stuck in time. It's a nation in flux. The choices made now will define its future. Cuba is more than cigars and classic cars. It's resilience, creativity, and untapped potential. The island stands at a tipping point, caught between history and the future. Its people face hard questions. Can they build a better society without losing their identity? The story isn't over. The most important chapters are still to come. Thanks for joining this journey into Cuba's heart. What surprised you most about Cuba? Let us know in the comments.